Back for more VCers on a Sunday night. Hope everyone's doing well. It's kind of a lazy Sunday, so I thought I would go ahead and make a second Kinks review video. I put my first one up here a few hours ago, and it was a review of their debut album, which is called simply Kinks in England and called You Really Got Me in America. So the second album is called Kinda Kinks. This is the British version, which I don't have on vinyl. The CD, they did reissues of their CDs about 3 years ago. All of their records from 64 to 72. They're double CD sets. You get mono copy, stereo copy. You get extra tracks, demos, alternate takes, unreleased tracks, previously unreleased tracks. You get single and EP cuts that came out around the time of the album that were not on the album proper, etc., etc. You also, with all of these re-releases, get a neat little booklet. Has some of the different album covers and 45 covers, EP covers, pictures of the band, liner notes, some ads. They are playing with the Yardbirds and Goldie and the Gingerbreads, etc., etc. Good stuff. So, Kinda Kinks came out, like I said, I think I said March 5th of 1965. That's the British version of it, which has 12 tracks. The American version, and said in my first video, much like the Beatles and the Stones and everybody else, the British and American versions were not the same. America withheld tracks from the British albums so that they could put together extra albums to make more money from unsuspecting American teenagers. So you have Kinda Kinks, the American version. This is actually not an original. This is probably a late 70s, early 80s repress. I got this in summer of 1981 in Chicago. I remember buying this thing. So, and actually it's funny because that's not a 1965 picture of the Kinks. That's them in about 1968, but nonetheless, kind of a cool picture. I always like that. It's on Marble Arch, so it's an okay pressing. It was a budget line album, so it's just okay. But in America, you got Kinda Kinks in England, you got Kinda Kinks in America. They also, from withholding tracks and tracks that they had held off of their debut album and 45 and EP tracks that were not on the British album, they managed to squeeze out Kinks Size and Kinks Kingdom, which is these are both original copies, mono. I got these. They're in fair to pretty good shape. The vinyl's pretty good shape. These were already out of print when I got these back in 80, 81, so they're kind of hard to find. They would be even tougher to find now, I'm assuming, especially if you wanted a mint, pristine copy. Would probably be a little pricey. So I don't remember what I paid for these back in 80, 81 when I got them, but I'm happy to have them. So there's the back of Kink Size, just sort of a get to know the Kinks type thing that's asking them questions like their brothers and sisters, where they're educated, their biggest influence, hobbies, etc., etc. There's the back of Kingdom, which is kind of a boring, but not much there. For personal ambition for Dave Davies is to roam country estates and be a lord of the manor, and I would like to do that too. So anyway, this album, their second album, is definite improvement on their first. For one thing, there are, like I said, on the British version, 12 songs. Only 2 songs are cover versions here. The rest are written by Ray Davies. So you get a lot of more originals. On the first album, there were only, I believe, 4 originals by Ray Davies. Granted, You Really Got Me was one of them, and that song is huge. And Stop Your Sobbing and I'd Just Go to Sleep were another, and those songs are really good too. But things improve here for an overall, as far as an album, not just having couple of hit songs and then some throwaway tracks, which is mainly what the first album is. It's a lot of R&B covers that are just so-so, even though some of them are quite enjoyable. But here you've got a much better opening song, "Look for Me, Baby," which is kind of still a British invasion sounding thing. The Kinks at this point are not up to par with the Beatles, with the exception of their hit singles to some degree. They're still definitely ahead of the class of the kind of the second and third rate groups of the British invasion, but they would do even better than this, and so this is a big improvement on their first album, but it's a step up. But they were still sort of they weren't doing the R&B covers so much anymore, but they were still kind of just a run of the mill Mercy Beat. They weren't Mercy Beat because they weren't from Liverpool, but just a run of the mill British beat group on some of these album cuts, even though their singles were huge. So you had You Really Got Me. They followed that up with All Day and All of the Night, which was just as good of a song. It was not on this album. It is on this CD set, one of the extra songs, but was not on the album proper. So you open up with, like I said, Look For Me, Baby, which is a really good opener, even though it still sounds kind of generic British invasion, but not in a bad way. Got My Feet on the Ground is the second song, which is kind of a neat rockabilly country, almost Chet Atkins sounding thing. Little different something for the Kinks there. Um, Nothing in the World Can Stop Me Worrying About That Girl. The third track is the well, I'll say the second best. Yeah, I'll go with that. Second best song on here. It's really a melancholy, wistful song. It's sort of a probably they had heard Dylan and been influenced, and it's very sad, longing, and aching song. And it's a really good song. It's a slowed down, kind of aching ballad type song, I guess. Uh, Then you get Nagging Woman, number 4. That's one of the 2 covers. It was written by someone, I forgot to look it up. But it's a good cover, and it's a better cover. They do a better job on this than they did on their first album, on the covers on their first album. So it's fun. You get I Wonder Where My Baby Is Tonight, very upbeat, up-tempo song, even though the guy's wondering where his girlfriend's running around. Next up, Tired of Waiting, which y'all probably know. Went to number 1 in England, went to, I believe, number 6 in America. So one of the great Kinks songs, and it's a big change of pace from after You Really Got Me and All Day and All of the Night. Ray had sense enough to know that he'd gone to that well enough, that particular songwriting, song style well. So he changed gears with Tired of Waiting for You, which is every bit as desperate and angry and pin up as All Day and All of the Night and You Really Got Me, but just at a slower, more muted, musically fashion. Does that make any sense what I just said? Probably not, but that's a great song. Dancing in the Streets is the other cover, Martha and the Vandellas song. Should have been left to Martha and the Vandellas. Kinks version of that is to be honest, just terrible. And for all my griping about their cover versions on their first album being kind of just okay, so and ordinary, none of them are as bad as Dancing in the Street. And that's I guess when Mick Jagger and David Bowie did it at Live Aid, that was worse than this, but it's pretty terrible. So we can forget about that. Don't Ever Change is another sort of British beat, Mercy beat sounding song, but the Kinks sound is sort of starting to where they would get their own. This album is where they start to really get their own sound. On the first album, they had their own sound to a degree with You Really Got Me, and a couple of the other songs, but basically they just sounded like a lot of that album. It just sounded like any number of white British kids playing old R&B music, just sort of run of the mill. So here they're starting to get their own sound in this song, and it gets better toward the end of the song. So it's not a great song, but it picks up toward the end. Come On Now is really kind of an off-kilter, shouty song, which is just a lot of fun, a lot of a lot of energy in it, a lot of fun, upbeat. It's a great song. Probably might have been a single, and it's there's a little bit of angst and desperation in the vocal and the lyric. So So Long is a good song. It's very folky music, really sad and kind of touching song. It's sort of influence of Dylan and sort of the British folk scene guys like Davy Graham and those guys comes through there. Let's see what else we got. Something Better Beginning is another really good song, which doesn't sound anything like the Beatles. Sounds like the Kinks. By this point, you really get that Kinks identity and sound, but it sounds like something that could fit right in on Rubber Soul, even though it doesn't sound like the Beatles. Really good song to end it on. And the song before that is really good. It's called You Shouldn't Be So Sad. So that's the proper album. The bonus disc has 23 songs on it, and this really should have been an album of itself, but it was all sorts of 45s and B-sides and EP songs that were not on albums at the time. So, and there's most of this is just killer stuff. This is where the Kinks really start to take off. Everybody's going to be happy. Who'll be the next in line? Set Me Free. I Need You, which is a great song, sort of in the style of You Really Got Me in All Day and All of the Night. It's kind of funny because 1965 the Beatles also had a song called I Need You on the Help album, which I love. Is a great song. They don't sound anything at all alike, these two, but both great songs. See My Friends is where Ray is really starting to grow as a songwriter. This song has kind of a drone guitar and Indian music feel, which actually this is early 65, so the Kinks were the Beatles and Indian music with George Harrison and the sitar and Norwegian wood and all. The Kinks got there first, basically. So, Well-Respected Man, Social Commentary, and that's one reason the Kinks are my second favorite band of all time, is that vocally they're really good. They're not Beach Boy good or John Lennon and Paul McCartney good, or certainly not, Sam Cooke or anything good, but Ray's vocals are kind of nasally and at times, but can be very beautiful at other times. So, but Social Commentary, he's as good as Lennon and Dylan. One of the best songwriters ever, Ray Davies is. So, what was that? Well-Respected Man. Yeah, that's a great song. Wait Till the Summer Comes Along. I'm not going to read all of these, but I Go to Sleep is a really nice song that he wrote for a band called the Honeycombs, I believe, a girl group. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. And the Pretenders covered it later, which actually sounds better sung by a female, and he wrote it to be sung by a female, I'm pretty sure, but this is the Kinks version of it, which is their demo version. It's a good song, great song. So, See My Friends is that's the alternate. We already talked about that. So there's a lot of good stuff. It's a step up from their first album. They would get even better yet, much better. This is just based on the album proper and not the extra singles and stuff that come with it. Gave the first album a 7. I would give this album an 8. So, kind of Kinks, the second album. Check it out. The other thing, we'll talk about this on the next album more. I'll just wait till then. So anyway, have a good Sunday night, and we'll see you all. The video I put up, I noticed that one person watched it, but it has 2 likes. I'm not sure how that works, but glad that somebody likes it. So have a good Sunday, everybody.